Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor. Now it's time for your weekend tech tip, brought to you by Chevy Silverado.
You know, I was just thinking my Chevy Silverado tech tip of the week should be, how do you wash one of these things when there's a 7-inch lift on it and 37-inch tires? Because I can't get it into a car wash. My truck is filthy, but I love it. It is what it is. Okay, so Josh, let's talk a little bit about the new Endurex from P-Line. The difference between, let's say, that and right here, Braid 8, okay, which is one of all my reels right now are pretty much loaded up with this, minus a couple with the Endurex. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but there is a significant difference between these three, of course, but the two braided lines. Endurex, no fade. How many different colors is there?
3.
There's 3 different colors, black, green.
And monster green, which is like a moss.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so just a dark green.
High-vis, yep.
All right, so the high-vis is one of the things that I wanted to mention. Where is this an advantage? Several places, right? If you are bobber dogging, free drifting with multiple people in the boat, goes without saying, you need to be able to see where everybody's line is. Absolute advantage. It's very difficult to run the boat when you have no idea where everybody's line is, especially when you're free drifting. When you're bobber dogging, you got bobbers that can help you, but it's nice to have that high vis to see it. Also, back trolling. We're doing a lot of back trolling right now in lots of different areas, doesn't matter where it is, and being able to see the lines, the angle of the lines when you're back trolling is absolutely key. All of those things help you be more successful when you're actually fishing. And you're gonna go, oh, it's just line. True, but if you're presenting your baits the right way, this line will tell you if you are or aren't. So that's the reason why high-vis is so popular, usable in so many situations. Myself, that's really the only 2 situations that I use it. Other than that, I fish the dark green or even black to hide that line, depending on, trolling, because you don't need to really see it so well. You can see your rod thumping, or if you're herring fishing, whatever it might be, you don't necessarily need that high-vis line. But for folks here, in the Northwest, the way that we like to fish, what are the colors that you would recommend and diameter? Because that's going to be a question that comes up. Is this thinner than the typical line, or is it?
It's right. It tracks right with most braids.
Okay, so right there with
it's right there with most braids. It obviously each application is going to be different. For a general, Columbia River, Willamette River, 50-pound is the norm. Like that is the standard that most people are trolling with. Guys that maybe like to use a little less lead or lighter rod might keep it a little closer by using a smaller line.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Some guys will run 65 and they're not afraid to hang 20 ounces off their rod for buoy 10. So,
yeah, that makes great sense because you get that thicker diameter. You can actually see it while you're fishing. If you've got different diameter lines, how that line is actually, the angles that you're getting, right, 45 or whatever you want to call it, it really does make a big difference, especially with some of the technologies that are out there now. They're making braided lines so thin with the same poundage, where sometimes it's an advantage just to ramp it up, right? I don't want to do that. I want to know that I got 50-pound on all my rigs so that everything fishes the same, because based on, of course, that diameter. Because you don't need 50-pound mainline, 65-pound mainline doing what we're doing, let alone if you get that hung up and you try to have to break that off. That's a dangerous situation by itself. Right. That's why we use so many different bumpers on our leaders and dropper lines that are lighter, of course, stating the obvious. But if you haven't done that yet, do yourself a favor. Don't wrap it around your arm, okay? Don't do that, and don't pull what we call a Freddy and get your finger inside the pawl of your reel. That was brutal. That destroyed a reel and nearly took his finger off. Okay, so another question I get quite a bit about P-Line. Obviously, P-Line, from braid to leader material and mono, arguably is the #1 selling product that's in our region. I mean, everybody fishes P-Line. There's obviously some competitors there, but P-Line's done a fantastic job in a number of different ways. Leader material.
Yep.
Fluorocarbon, mono, let's say we're Chinook fishing like we are now. Is there a preference for you? And if there is, when and where would you maybe make a change from fluoro to like just a regular mono leader?
I use a lot of mono. I know a lot of guys and a lot of really good anglers use a lot of fluorocarbon, and I do use fluorocarbon leaders, but for some general things like on my typical, if I'm running herring, I use mono. But a lot of times, if I'm running a spinner, I'll use fluorocarbon behind a 360, because that stiffer line has less of a, the fluorocarbon is much stiffer a lot of times, and so it's less apt to tangle up.
Okay.
And so it'll turn a swivel better, actually. Okay. So a heavy fluorocarbon, if we're going to use like 40-pound bumper or 30-pound leader, you know, that heavy fluorocarbon will actually turn your swivel better and get less twist.
All right, makes sense. Yeah. Also, it sinks, right?
Right.
So that's actually kind of nice when you are running a 360, or even for that matter, other ways that you're going to do it. But behind that 360 will also keep, in theory, keep your bait in one spot, right, where it's not going to want to bounce around a whole bunch, which is the advantage of having that 360. But you don't want to have that line, you know, be something that might impede your bait from working correctly. I don't understand folks, though, that do use 40, 50, and 60-pound leader behind that. My recommendation would be 25 and maybe 30-pound, because if you do get hung up, you want to be able to break that off without losing, you know, a $12, $15 flasher, which can certainly be...
Adds up quick.
Yeah, especially when you got friends like mine that will sometimes end up with your flashers and bumpers. Hence the reason why I bug Dave all the time over there at Simon. Anyway, long story short. All right, so definitely go out and check out Endurix. Is it available now, though? Because we've been receiving the information that it wasn't around. Is it readily available?
It was delivered to Fisherman's on Wednesday. So it just hit the stores. No one has probably bought it yet because they don't know it's there yet.
Okay.
But it just was delivered to the warehouse on Wednesday. Should be in the stores by Monday if it's not already.
I know that I will be filling many reels with that, because this is the year where, if you guys all remember, I kind of messed up my right arm a little bit. I can't fight a fish with the left-handed setup. Anyway, loaded up a bunch of reels, and I'm going to be doing a bunch more steelhead rods, right? 30-pound is what I would recommend for your steelhead fishing. You don't need anything. Oh, let's ask that question. 30, 40, 50, 30, 50? What are the...
Steelhead rod, 30. I mean, it's a go-to.
No, I mean overall availability.
Oh, it goes from 15 to 80.
To 80?
Yeah.
Okay, so all the ranges that are in there, again, I'd recommend 30-pound for your steelhead fishing, bobber dogging, free drifting, whatever it might be. We use it pretty much everywhere. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of this stuff. This is actually the first time I've seen the high vis.
Yeah.
Interesting. Have you played with this much yourself?
Yeah, I've got to fish it. So.
You did?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it acts like most braids. It's very slick, so it acts like a slicker braid.
Okay.
Pretty round, so you don't see the twists in it or anything like that. It's pretty round, and it acts like any braid. It just doesn't lose its color.
For real? It doesn't lose its color?
Like the raw material is made out of that color. so it's,
you realize
we don't dye it.
I'm skeptical too.
Yeah,
right? Let's just be honest here. Sponsor or not, I got to ask the question.
Before they bring the filament out and make the line, the actual raw material is that color.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I did see a video. I think it was on YouTube or something. You might be able to see it there as well. Well, of course, you can. If I can, you can. Where the individual filled a reel, had a white piece of paper or whatever it was. It filled the entire reel, and there was no color on that paper. I've never seen that. You've all seen it before, like when you load your reel up on your rod and you've got all that dust and color that's on your first eye or however you like to do it. That shouldn't happen. So that's pretty impressive. Yeah. Interesting to see how that's going to work out, and I'm going to need a whole bunch of it. So let's just put in the order now. All right, we're going to cut to a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit of spring Chinook fishing with Josh. Also talk about the upcoming things with P-line and Fisherman's Marine, a term that you mentioned yesterday. I don't think I've heard in 20-plus years. You're going to go, what are you talking about? You'll hear it when we come back from this break. Don't go anywhere.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. And by Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective.